Hey guys, it's Spike. I figured that with, well, nothing else going on, I pretty much ran out of news to talk about. So instead, I'll give you something in my personal life as this pandemic is going on. Recently, my sister's car has just been taken over here, which it needs an inspection and it needs an oil change. So I am going to do the oil change here. And so I figured I might as well show you how to do one of these. It's pretty easy. You can do this yourself if you want to. So for this job, you're obviously going to need oil. You're going to need an oil filter. You're going to need a ratchet set, which I'm using a 3/8 ratchet. You're going to need a pair of gloves, because this is going to be a messy job and you do not want this on your hands. You're going to need an oil pan, which I will show you a little later. You're going to need a funnel for the new oil, and you're going to need something to jack up this car with. Now, the first step, of course, is getting it off the ground, and you can use a jack set, which I do have. You're going to need a jack and jack stands, and only lift the front of the car, which you will need to. Just a minimum of 2 jack stands. But for this job, I would actually recommend using one of these ramps. This is much easier, it's much quicker, and it is safer. I got this from Harbor Freight and very cheap. You can easily get one of these, but be sure that it is rated for the car that you are planning to use on. Now this can easily handle this Volkswagen Beetle, but once again, make sure that they are rated for the weight of your vehicle. So I'm going to go in the car and get this jacked up, and we're going to go right under. And one extra thing I need to mention before I put it up, make sure the wheels are straight before you go up the ramps. The last thing you need is for it to come crashing down on one side. So after you get it off the ground, give it a good shake, just to make sure that it is indeed secure. And just for an added measure, I would highly suggest putting these wheel chocks on the back tires, just to make sure it doesn't roll back. Hey, you never know. So now that we got the car off the ground, it's time to go under and get that oil drained. All right, it's time to go under the car. We got our gloves on and we are looking for the drain plug. And this is very unusual. The Volkswagen has this plate underneath the engine block, but luckily they were nice enough to give us a hole for the drain plug. So whenever you're looking for the drain plug, you're looking for a nut like this. This has access to the oil bay. So we're gonna get our drain pan and place it right underneath. Here is our drain pan. I just recently used it a couple of days ago for another car. So we're gonna place this right underneath. Now it is important that when you are draining the oil, make sure it is cool. If you have just driven this, you want this to sit for at least 1 or 2 hours for the oil to cool down. You don't want to pull this out and then the thing drains hot oil all over you, and that would be really, really bad. So with that, we are ready to drain, and now we're going to go to our ratchet set and crack this open. Well, I'm glad I didn't pull anything, because I actually found out that was not the drain plug. I did a little extra research, mainly because I saw 2 plugs and I wasn't too sure. So I took off the underside and found out that neither of them were the drain plug. It's actually this one. So yeah, it was hidden under the cover. So yeah, we found the real drain plug. Good thing I did not pull anything out. So now that we found the real drain plug, let's go ahead and get this one off. All right, for this job, we're going to require a, well, I did say use a ratchet set, and in most cases you will need a ratchet set, because they will take those sockets But in this case, we have a star-shaped nut in there. So we need a special bit here. We got a six-point star bit for this Volkswagen. So this is not typically what I use. So we're going to put a pan underneath, and let's get that oil out. In this case, we just want to crack this open. If we can crack it open. Oh, this is a tough nut here. Come on, you. Let's see. Okay, I think we're going to need reinforcements here. All right, got this on a 1/4-inch ratchet, and we'll see if that works. Let's see, we want to turn it to the left. There we go, we cracked it open. All right, now we got some oil flowing out. Now we need to slowly turn it to the left, and eventually you'll have a bunch of oil coming out, so be sure get that drain pan ready. It should be almost out. This is why you wear gloves. Almost there, and there we go. And this engine takes 5 3/4 quarts. So we're going to let this drain out, and we will come back to it. While that's draining out, there is an important step that you need to make here. First, the drain plug that we pulled out, we got to make sure we clean that off. The second thing, this is really important. Now, your plugs are going to have gaskets. There's going to be 2 different kinds. You got your silicone gasket, and what this one has a metal crush gasket. Now, if you have one of the metal ones, you want to replace these. The reason why is because it has to have a good seal in here, and if it isn't tight enough, you're going to have an oil leak. So be sure to replace these if you have one of the metal crush gaskets every time you make a change. All right, looks like all the oil has been drained out, so we're going to wipe that off if it'll stop dripping. And we're going to put our drain plug back in along with the new gasket. We're going to turn it clockwise this time. Of course, with me being on the back side, it's a little more difficult. All right, let's see here. All right, we're gonna hand screw it on. We're gonna wipe up all the oil that is dripped out. And then we gotta torque this down. And now, this one only requires 25 foot-pounds, which is not a lot. All you need to do is just give it an extra snug on there. For a lot of vehicles, you won't need to put a whole lot of force on there. So we got our wrench and we got it turning clockwise. Let me get through that one more time. All right, now we're gonna snug this down. All right, already set to the right. Yes, we are. All right, very good. We're gonna wipe up that last bit of oil that managed to squeak through. All right, and we're gonna take this old oil out, and we'll go to the next step, which is the oil filter. Now, normally your oil filter is down underneath the engine, but for this Volkswagen, this one's a little different. I'll show you. Now we move on to the oil filter, which is another part that needs to be changed out. Now, with a typical vehicle, you'll usually see something like this. Now, these are the canisters. These are screw-on canisters, And you'll usually put this on the underside of your car, and they'll either go in underneath like this, or they'll go over to the side. And usually you'll need like a wrench, an oil filter wrench, to get these off. But it's pretty simple. Put your pan underneath, unscrew these, and then put the new one in. It's as simple as that. But in this particular car, it's something a little different. Instead of the full-on cartridge, we instead just have the filter itself. This is cellulose based, and this one works off a cartridge on the side of the engine. So now we got to take that out and get the old filter out, put the new one in. So that'll be our next step. All right, see this little nut right here by the engine? That's our oil filter. We got to get this one off. But this is going to require a wrench to get underneath it. I'm also going to put the oil pan underneath that just in case any oil comes out. Make sure it is lined up. It is. Very good. I just want to make a little adjustment. Okay. Now we're going to get a wrench and get that off. Now there are special sockets to get this off, but because I don't have one with me, an adjustable wrench will do just fine. I'm not sure if this one will fit this one. Yeah, this one is sliding off. Alright, I'm going to have to get a bigger wrench. Okay, let's see if this one works. Oh yeah, that'll fit. Let's see if we can get it off though. Oh yeah, there's oil coming out of that. I'm going to have to get a towel to get that. So we're going to get our towel ready and get that filter off. Alright, so there's the old filter, and yeah, looking pretty nasty there. But it's actually not that bad considering how far it's gone. So we're going to change this one out, get the new filter in. Alright, with the new filter, so here's the canister. So here's our new filter. We're going to put that on, and we're going to place this down, if I can find a way down, unless I'm putting it in the wrong way, which I shouldn't. But it should be fine. Let's see. Just got to make sure it goes straight in. It does. All right, now we can screw it in. All right, we're going to hand tighten it first, and then we'll get our wrench and tighten it the rest of the way. Doesn't help that the engine's in there. Alright, the new oil filter is in, and now it is time to put in some new oil. Okay, the oil cap is right over here. I'm going to pull that off. And this is one of those where I have to enter it slowly. So we're going to... Yeah, this is not going to be an easy one to fill. So we're going to start off with our... Okay, so we do know that this takes 5 3/4 quarts of 5W30 oil. So we're going to get this on. The mosquitoes are flying in my face. Come on, can open up. Here it goes. And he even put a seal on it. Okay, with this, it's important that we do this really slowly. We don't want this to spill anywhere. All right, that is 5 quarts right there. Now it needs 3/4 more, so I got 1 more bottle coming. All right, we're looking for 3/4 quarts. Now, if you do go over, that's okay. It's not that big a deal. And let's see where we're at on here. Just a little more. Alright, I've gone past 3/4, but that's okay. That's not that big a deal. So we're gonna make sure that all that oil's drained in there, and then we're gonna close this up. Tighten it up. Alright. Alright, there is still one bit of business that I need to do, and it has to do with the underside. That plate still has to go back on there, so I'm gonna get my wrench, and we're gonna put that plate back on. All right, this step is especially important. With all the used oil that we got out of the car, it's all got to be recycled. So what I usually do is that I take one of the cans of oil that I used. It's now empty. I can refill this up, and then I'm going to pour that into this little funnel here. It'll all go in here. Obviously, it's going to fill up the whole can, so I got to use the other one as well. But what will happen is that we're going to take all this old oil and we're going to take it to our local oil parts store and have all this recycled. A lot of it gets reused. Now, of course, this is not the best oil pan for me to use, but it will do as long as I do this very carefully. Well, that was a lot less oil than I had expected. That engine's supposed to hold 5.8 quarts, but it looks like it just got to the top of the can. Well, it hasn't even gotten to the top of the can. I'm a little surprised. But what's more important is how much we put in. So the last step is to take it off the ramp, and we're gonna check the oil level. Don't forget to take off the wheel chocks. All right, the last step is checking the oil, and you have to make sure that the engine is turned off for this so that the oil, all the oil goes to the bottom. And so you'll usually see it with the yellow dipstick there. First take it out, wipe it off, because all the oil that was running in there is going to splash around. Then dip it in all the way in, pull it back out again, and we're going to look at the mark. Let's see. I think I put it right on the full. I'm going to check one more time. Yeah, you want it to be on the hash marks right there, and I say that is a good reading right there, right in the middle. So we'll put the dip back, put the hood down, and we are done. Well, that Volkswagen was a little more work than what it was worth. But typical oil change is not that difficult. Volkswagen is just one of those cars where the engineers just makes it hard for everybody. But so we got that changed, and now it's ready for the inspection, which we'll take care of another day. But hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you guys next time.